Hi everyone, welcome back to another Minecraft video. In this video, we'll be doing part 2 of our How to Build a Redstone Computer series. So this is part 2 on how to build a redstone computer. If you haven't already watched part 1, I recommend you do, because in part 1, we built the command center and a fictional plug. So in this video, we'll be building the screen and the battery and fuse box. So we're going to start with making these switches along the control area actually do something. Come down here to the front of the control area, and what we're going to do, and I'm not sure why I didn't build this in when I first made this, is we're going to drag an individual redstone wire from each of these switches. So, destroy a block underneath the switch. So switch block here, and then you're going to have to do something finicky here. But we're going to place a block underneath that, and we're going to have to drag a redstone line here. And we're not going to have them going along the grass, because we want them hidden. So, in the example redstone computer, all the wires from the switches protruded from the control area when they went to the screen. So, in our redstone computer, we're going to have to do the same, because unless I make a third edition of my redstone computer, not a part 3 of how to build it, but a third revision, where I build a new redstone computer entirely. I might do that in the future, I'm not sure yet, where I make it easier to work with. Anyway, back to this one. We'll drag all the redstone out, and we're going to dig into the grass. In fact, before I just make a few channels, but since I have world edit, there we go. Drag all the redstone wires into here, and now that you've done that, make sure to cover up the visible section. For a staircase, or it can be whatever you like, because this is the highly custom design, there's no one way to build it. However, in my example, it's going to be a staircase like this, and there, it's all done. So, we're not just done yet with dragging wires out of the control area. With the fuse box, we actually want to do a few other things. So we actually need to drag power from this master switch. We want to drag power from the master switch to where the battery and fuse box would go, which is over there. So, of course, we're going to drag that out too. In this case, I'm just going to make another thing and extend my staircase a bit. So you can just drag it down here. So, this wire is going to come all over here. It kind of helps to have somewhere to drag that wire to, so let's build that. So this is going to be where the battery is going to go. And we're actually going to build part of the battery before we can drag this wire somewhere. So let's do that. Now, the battery is functionally a bunch of repeaters. So if I just place a few repeaters down. So I just built this pretty basic circuit. And this is to demonstrate the function of the battery. And so, for our project, the mains power is this switch here. And the wire and effectively the entire control area is this tiny function of redstone, this tiny part of redstone here. And the battery is this line of repeaters set to 4 ticks. And then at the end it goes to this redstone lamp. So even if we cut the mains, the charge from repeaters, while it goes down quickly, it still stays there for some time. And effectively what I've done in this battery is if I scale that project up to immense sizes, so I effectively have a bunch of repeaters, a lot of repeaters, which hold the charge for some time, at least 13 minutes. When there's power given to this battery, the repeaters slowly charge up, and then when the power is cut off, it takes another 13 minutes for them to all drain of charge. And we're going to do the same concept to our own project. So we're going to go over here and build something like that. And I'm going to build a slightly bigger battery. It doesn't really matter how big you build it. And you don't have to build one of these at all. Like this is, you can modify this in any way you like. But in our project, we're going to build a battery. First of all, I'm just going to create... Now, there should be some order to this, but I'm just doing it randomly. And you don't need to build it this big. I do recommend World Edit to do this, but we're going to build it this big. We're going to start by choosing where the power is going to go, and since a power is here, we're going to start by placing repeaters here. It may take a while to do this if you don't have World Edit, so you have to place them like this. And I'm just gonna copy and paste them all the way to the other end. So you should have a line of repeaters that goes from one end to this end. And already, if we place a lever and turn it on, they take some time to charge up. And I'm going to include a time lapse of them all charging up after we do one layer to bring it back. And I'll just show you this. Now we're going to place repeaters like this. And what we could do is do a line of repeaters on the same level to this. But the reason why I'm not going to do that is, let's say we have them here, and then we take our redstone, and then take it here. What was going to happen is it's going to keep looping, and then if there's charge applied for a long enough time, it'll just stay on all the time. The charge, if there's charge, will not affect it. We don't want that, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to place it one block higher, and then I'll place a block here, blocking the redstone from connecting, meaning if power comes down here, it has to continue along the line and not go back to the start. And then this line is going to connect to our main source here. So first of all, we're going to continue making this one layer. So make one block high line from one end to the other, and then take your repeaters and place them here. Make sure you set them to 4 ticks. You don't have to, but it will extend how long a single repeater can hold charge. So after you make your long line coming back, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to copy this entire module and then paste it. So we're going to have to do a space and then paste. A space, then paste. Now I didn't get the parameters right, so I'm going to have to add another quartz. All I did was add another line here. So now I need to connect all these. So add a block to this, place a block here. The purpose of this block, as I described before, is to prevent a continuous loop from being created. So this section is now complete. I'm going to give you what should be a satisfying time lapse of all of this filling up. So here goes. Let's go. So it may seem like I've done a lot of work, but this is only the first layer. We're going to make a few more layers. So what we're going to do to make more layers is we're actually just going to copy and paste this layer, and there we go, another layer. So I think this is just enough. I could do more, but at some point redstone does impact performance, so I'm not going to do too much. And now this is done, we're going to put walls and a roof on this. All I've done is covered the battery in a shell of quartz. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect all these different cells. Drag the final output power, get over here to the other repeater on the next level, and then just repeat that up there. However, what I'd like to do, and what I've also done in the other example, is at the end of every level, there's a wire that goes to the screen, so you can tell how charged up the battery is. Now, in this computer, every single line has an output to the screen, so we're going to repeat the same in ours. However, I'm only going to do a single level. I'm just going to give you an example. So you can see that it's starting to charge up, and if I were to sit here for 13 minutes, this would eventually get, oh look, there's the second dot. This would eventually get to the other side of the screen. So now we're going to copy our line of redstone, and then paste on every level. And there we go, it's all done. So now that I think about it, it's helpful to have a screen to connect any wires we make to. Alright, and there was our computer screen. Now let's go into the control area and see how it looks. Pretty good. We can see it clearly from the control area. It could be a bit bigger, but whatever. And it helps to dig out behind it to make it easy to work with. And there we go. We're going to select our lights. So first we need to know how many levels we have. We have 7 levels of battery. So that means we need 7 lines going to the screen. one thing I'm going to do is have like a battery symbol around it. So we need to activate all this and have it with redstone. And so far it looks pretty good. Wow, redstone is so easy. It only takes me like 2 centuries to do a simple battery. And I can't even fit my 7 battery indicator icons in here. It's time to just move this entire mess out a bit. After way too much suffering, this is the result. And this is the nightmare of redstone that does it. All controlled by a single switch. If you actually want to do something like I've done, it's somewhat simple but not really. The idea is you have an outline of the battery, and then you somehow light every single block using a combination of torches, redstone, and other things. So you don't need to do an outline, of course. You can always, if you have a difficulty working on a battery, you can always just have a few dots like the original did. And speaking of those dots, we should actually wire them. Now we're gonna make a cable. So first we need to build the fuse box. Actually, before we do that, even, we should probably connect this cable. It's been sitting here the entire time. So we're just gonna go underground. So just dig a tunnel in here, and then drag the wire through the tunnel into the beginning of the battery. Every single time the redstone signal goes up a level, we're going to drag out a wire which will control a single point on the battery. 7 levels, so we need to make a cable that's going to go about here-ish. It needs to have 7 carryable wires. So this wire can carry 8 individual redstone wires. So the fuse box is going to go about here, and then so there's going to be 2 wires running to the monitor or screen. First one's going to be information about how charged the battery is, which is then displayed in this nice battery indicator. And then a great use for this 8th wire would be to turn on the actual battery outline. Oh, I have so many plans for this. So here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get all the wires into a single pattern, 7 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now each one of these is going to climb up to the level above it. So I'm going to drag them up to the appropriate levels, and I'll show you the finished product. And this is the end product. Every single level's output staircases down into this row of 7 blocks. Now we're going to send these 7 into a few different areas. So first, of course, we're going to send them into the wire. So I ran cables from each of the 7 outputs to one point in the wire. So each of the 7 levels now has 1 wire in this huge cable. The last wire is going to be power to the monitor, and that power is going to come from either any one of these cables or the mains. So now what I have to do is to figure out how to get a wire running from each of these 7 wires without connecting. Like I could easily run a wire like this. However, them connecting these two causing issues. So I have to run a wire from each of these individual wires. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll see you then. And I've finished that project. It was a big mess, and now I have an even bigger mess of redstone. But every single battery output is collected in this one line, and the goal of this is to have, if there's any power in the battery, or at least any power that's going to one of these lines here, take it and use it in this wire. So we need to actually connect the wire. Before we do that, I'm going to install a piston fuse here. What a piston fuse is it breaks the flow. So right now the flow is being used, but if, let's say, a lever is used, it breaks the flow. This is going to be going back to a switch in the control area, and then this needs to go to the wire. And now it's finally done. Now all is left to do, well for this part anyway, there's a lot of parts, is to run these wires to the screen. Now first we need to figure out where we're going to run it to, and I'm just going to put it in here. We're also going to extend the screen by 2. This is because some of the redstone for the battery's outline extends off the screen, so I want to hide that when I finally cover over this part. One thing I also need to do, oh yay, is to pack these 7 wires up into a cable package. Oh, and due to recording issues and time constraints, this is definitely going to be a 3 or even 4-part series. I think all I'm going to do is connect this cable and then plug it into this bit. So I'm just going to drag this cable with the wires over to here, and I'll get back to you. Due to extreme time constraints when I'm recording this, it looks like I'm going to have to end the video here. So in part 3, we'll connect this wire to all these different functions. And in part 4, yep, there's going to be a part 4, I'm going to finish the screen. So, part 3, connecting that wire into its functions, and finishing the fuse box. Part 4, finishing the screen. Anyway, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!